happened there. Anyway, Beth, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. Thanks for inviting me onto the show.
It's not. I tell you what, it's not my day today. You
Oh,
know.
no?
No, it's not. It's not my day today. But there you go. Anyway, okay. Now, can you tell everybody what you do and an induction? Then we can, talk more.
Then you can grill me.
I'll grill you.
Okay. So I'm Beth, the change coach. And I basically help people to deal with change in a calm and confident way to get the best results. So there's two kinds of change. There's the change that happens to you, like grief or redundancy. And then there's the kind of change that you want to make in your life, whether it's giving up smoking or finding love. So with either of those two types of change, I can help. I work as a business and personal coach. I also work for a company called Dream Careers Lab as an executive career coach, helping top US candidates get jobs at the big four, the accounting firms, KPMG and things.
Gosh. So can you get me a job at the being the president or something of the United States?
I'm sure you do a much better job than the present incumbent.
Okay, thank you. So you're not going to say no more about that then. No, the trouble is, a while back, I kind of like I had to make a big change in my life because I came a Christian and I had to change my life around. I I had mental health problems and one particular time I kind of like went onto a bridge and I wanted to commit suicide because of things was going wrong in my life. Now, the trouble is, when we make changes, how do we kind of like keep it going? Because sometimes we can all make changes, but sometimes we give up, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And your journey sounds amazing and so inspiring to others. I myself have had mental health issues in the past, and it is really difficult, challenging to overcome. Um, the way to make changes stick, it's tough. That's why people need coaching on it, because change is scary. And it's not that we're wimps about it. There's really good evolutionary reasons why change is scary. And it's because the most powerful part of our brain, which has allowed us to evolve from, amoeba to lizards to apes to the sophisticated species we are now, what that's done is it's protected us. It's kept us from risk and danger. And it doesn't like anything that it's not familiar with. So it sees change that we want to make as a risk. Now, the other part of our brain, the conscious, clever thinking part, decides, hey, I want to lose some weight, or I want to get a better job, or whatever. I'm going to start making those changes. And you start taking actions, or you read a great self help book, or you take up a diet plan or something, and you're doing really well, and you're using your willpower and going for it. And then suddenly, before you know it, you are on the sofa with a whole pack of Oreos. Or you are, just chickening out of job interviews and not able to speak to your manager about that pay rise that you really know you deserve. And what's happened there is that your much more powerful unconscious mind that protects you has just kicked in and gone, no, we're not doing that. And it essentially sabotages your efforts at change. So what I do with my clients is help them to reprogram their minds so that the most powerful part of their mind is kind of like, hey, this change is good, and actually driving them to achieve the change rather than working against them.
Mm, mm. We're going through a bad time at the moment because of the coronavirus. And the trouble is, some people are thinking. I did a podcast earlier, audio, and I was talking about, you know, people. There are people now who are actually who have been committing suicide. They have been committing suicide. I know it's not positive, but I'm only being, truthful about it because it needs to be told. But there's a lot of people is committing suicide, and I find that totally kind of really sad because they don't know what to turn. They don't know if this thing's going to get any worse. This COVID situation is going to get any worse. And so what can we do for them to kind of like make them change their thinking more positive? What can we do?
Yeah, I mean it's a terrible situation that people are going through. It's a really challenging time, and obviously that's continued this year. We're now facing another few months of it. So understandably, lots of us are feeling desperate and possibly full of despair. Quite right. And um, what's helped me through, all I can say is what's helped me through is I think we've had to come face to face with two big truths in the last year, which is that we actually have very little control over our lives, and also that change is constant. So we feel like when we get out of bed in the morning, like we know what we're going to do each day, we know what's going to happen, we've got a plan, and we go for it. And we think that we control our lives, our job, our relationships, all that sort of thing. We get to the end of the day, and I bet you 90% of the time that day hasn't gone exactly as you expect it to.
Mm,
And that's because things just happen. Everybody's doing their own thing, and you can't actually control the outcomes of most of what happens in life. But the good side of that is if you can't control it, how are you supposed to be responsible for it? So it's kind of like it shoves an awful lot of responsibility off your plate if you know that you can't control the outcome of such a thing anyway. The one thing you actually can control is your response to what's going on around you. And so that's a really great place to center, is to be mindful and kind to yourself and say, okay, so I'm feeling pretty awful right now. Just embrace that. Just be honest about it. And really, ramp up the self-care and go, yeah, this is a terrible situation. Nobody knows what's going on. Obviously, everybody's going to be stressed. Obviously, I'm going to have negative feelings, and that's okay. There's this culture where we're all supposed to be happy all the time to be fully realized. And it's actually not the truth, because you learn and grow just as much going through bad stuff as you do good stuff.
mm,
So it's okay to not be okay in this situation and to just sort of go, I can't control what's happening anyway. What I can control is how I'm feeling about it and how I'm behaving, and look after myself that way. The other thing, as I say, that we've had to confront is that change is constant. A lot of people say, "Oh, 2016, lots of big things have happened since then. There's been loads of change going on, hasn't there?" But if you look out of the window, you'll see the tree over the road is changing every day. Buds
mm,
and blossom and leaves and fruit, and then they all fall.
mm,
And I think again, the upside, the way we can help ourselves in understanding that is when you understand that everything's changing all the time, it really allows you to appreciate what you've got right now. So, like, if you've got a great job, but like you're worrying yourself sick about whether you're going to lose that job, the thing is, you're not going to have that job forever because you're not going to live forever. Everything comes and goes, just as nature does. Nature's got her stuff sorted out. She knows what she's doing. And I think, it allows you then to appreciate what you have now. I think, particularly with my kids and stuff. My kids are teenagers now, and whether they're leaving their socks on the floor or sulking in their rooms or giving me back chat, I appreciate it because I know that in the blink of an eye they'll be gone. You know,
mm,
um, so I would advise people to just be okay with those two unmovable truths, because resisting them causes stress. So it's about accepting that you can't control most of what's going on, but you can control your response, and accepting that change is part of life. It's a constant, and it allows you to appreciate, what happens. It's like watching different programs on Netflix, isn't it? You watch one program, it's great, but then it's over, and then another one comes along. So good.
yeah. I've been watching a lot of films on Netflix
Oh, haven't we all?
been, been, since I've been staying in. Um,
Yeah,
because I'm like self-guiding at the moment, so because I haven't been well, so. But
right.
the trouble is, see, what comes to me is that I get a lot of calls and texts about when people say I don't like myself. That I don't like myself. I hate myself. I hate everything about me. And sometimes I feel sorry about that. I feel, I really do, because I was at a certain point in my life when I didn't even hate, I just kind of like never liked anything about me. And
Yeah,
but I think that because I got family, I got children, I got a lovely wife, I can look at things more clearly now, which I didn't a few months, like kind of like a year ago, you know. I can go on my scooter and I can mobility scooter. I can go down the cycle track or something, and I can say, look, the look all the trees are changing, and just looking at things positive. That's what
Yeah.
we need to do, don't we? That's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a massive challenge that all of us are facing, that most of us don't think we're good enough. We don't think we're enough. I think probably most of us feel like that. Most of my clients do. It's the main work that I do with them, because when you have your inner life, your inner space sorted out, when you're able to like yourself and love yourself, everything else falls into place. Because imagine if you had a best friend who, like, say you were trying some jeans on at the shop, and they were like, you look rubbish in those, you're too fat, you're too old, you don't look good, you wouldn't hang out with that best friend for very long. But most of us have a toxic voice inside us that's saying that kind of stuff to us all the time, 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's a form of torture, isn't it? Can you imagine, if you were locked in a cell, and the FBI were playing, horrible insults at you all the time, but this is what we do to ourselves, and part of it is culture. We're not brought up to feel proud of ourselves. We're not brought up to love ourselves. I would suggest that particularly women are, it's you're not supposed to blow your own trumpet. You're not supposed to love yourself. That's seen as sort of arrogant in some way.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, all of us, I think, can develop a better relationship with ourselves, and it can start with simply, whatever's happening, you're sitting there feeling bad, think to yourself, what am I saying to myself here? Is there a voice that's saying stuff? Is that what my parents used to say? Is that what my old boss at work used to say? What can I say to myself instead? What would I say if my child was feeling like this? If my child was feeling this awful about themselves, would I then go, yes, you are awful, you're a disgrace? No, I'd be like, hey, cut yourself some slack. Look, you've done this and this, you're great, and you'll do better tomorrow. And you'd be full of all those kind affirmations, wouldn't you? Or if you don't have kids, if you're managing a team at work, what would you say to be a really inspiring and motivational leader to people? What would you say to your best friend who is feeling like that? And start saying that to yourself, because why not? Nobody else is going to know that you're saying all these lovely things to yourself in your own mind. And the more you do it, the more your brain will rewire. It's completely plastic. It's just a load of cells. And if you start talking to yourself kindly and nicely, just changing those sentences, catching yourself and doing it, you will find that eventually you're doing it without thinking. Just as you're doing the toxic stuff now, you can switch to the positive, and it'll happen without you trying.
Yeah, we all need a positive change, don't we? At this moment in time, because lots of stuff going on. Um, I kind of like sometimes I find it very difficult when people, such as kind of what can I say? See, wi- women are so good at kind of like talking, aren't they? Talking about their problems, aren't they? Do you think so?
I guess, yeah.
I guess so. So it's like if like my wife was with her friend, they would be okay. They're fine. They can talk about their problems with each other. But men sometimes are afraid to talk about it because we've got an ego of but like being tough and thinking, oh, we're going to be all right, But that's not the case for some of us.
Yeah, I
Some of
totally agree. Yeah, I
you know,
think I think this is how the patriarchy, cheats both genders. Well, it's more than two genders now, but um, it cheats us all,
yeah,
basically, because men have been socialized that talking about feelings, even admitting they have feelings, is some sort of weakness. Um, so yeah, that's a terrible situation for men, and of course, suicide is much higher, isn't it? I think it's young men that have
yes,
the highest suicide rate, and I really hope that schooling and parenting will change to encourage boys to speak about how they're feeling just as much as girls. Yeah,
yeah. It's a shame, isn't it?
yeah.
It's But the trouble is, you'll see, I was reading the other day about like there are now what's it 90% out of no sorry 75% out of 100 couples are getting divorced over the COVID.
Gosh, that's terrible, isn't it?
because
What shame.
they're being stuck in all the time together, and there's people losing their jobs and everything, and and how can people who's lost their jobs and who's in a situation being at home together, how can they make changes together? I bet it's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way that society structures human relationships is that you're not supposed to be together 24/7. So we don't really have the social skills to be able to cope with that. You hear, don't you, the apocryphal story of the couple where the husband was a long distance lorry driver and they had a totally happy marriage until he retired, and then they got divorced afterwards. Um, and I think the thing to do is to be honest, is to be able to sort of go, I think I need a space on my own, sort of. So in a house, even a small house, to be able to have a space or a time when you're sharing a space. Like, do you mind if I just go in the lounge on my own for a couple of hours and watch kind of what I like on the telly? Is that all right?
Mm,
And then you can have a go. Or do you mind if I just go up and have a bath now for an hour or so? And, so just being honest with each other that it's not personal. Again, this is a massive external situation. This is no weakness in the relationship. This is world events happening. This is a global pandemic, and as I say, nobody knows how to behave in this. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. So it's about developing just a very simple language and just saying, oh, this is a bit tough, isn't it? I love you and I'm happy being married to you, but I'm finding this, just far too intense. And just saying, is it all right if we have space doing our own thing for a bit?
mm.
And I'm sure the other person will be like, yeah, okay, let's do that. So
How do you cope being in your job as a change coach, telling
mm,
people all these positive things? But how do you cope yourself? You must be at home sometimes thinking, oh no, I've got to tell this person today to be positive, and you're probably not because you're so concerned about your children and your family and everything in these terrible times.
yeah, to be honest, I don't always tell people to be positive because I don't think we can be, honestly. And I'm absolutely not. Boy, have I eaten loads of junk food over lockdown. That's been my way of coping. Oh, yeah. So absolutely, I have days when I'm frustrated, resentful, angry, frightened. Of course, I don't think we're put on this earth to be happy. I think we're put on this earth to learn and grow, and therefore, as I say, the negative experiences are just as valid. And so, when I'm talking to clients and in my own life, I absolutely have days when I'm just like, right, well, I feel crap today, and that's just how it is. But and emotions are energetic and chemical as they move through your body. And if you just resist how you feel or pretend that you're all smiley happy, it's not authentic. And it's exhausting because you're trying to resist an urge. It's like having a full bladder and saying, no, I'm not going to the toilet. No, so it's best to just let that emotion go through you. Obviously there's ways to deal with it. So when you're all stuck in the same house, you're absolutely not allowed to go around shouting and stamping and slamming the doors. There have to be healthy ways of dealing with those emotions.
Mm,
But one of the most healthy ways is just to be honest with other people and saying, I'm really struggling today. I don't even know how I'm getting out of bed. This is a nightmare. you know and in a household, you'll each take it in turn. So I live with two of my teenagers at the moment, so there's three of us in the house, and we kind of just take turns. One of us feeling crap, and the other people sort of go, "Oh yeah, no, I totally get it," we find ways to distract each other and things like that. And sometimes we're all crap, and that's quite an interesting day. But there's always another day. So I think it's okay to be honest. I mean, of course, we're going to feel down about this.
yeah.
Absolutely. Don't put yourself through the torture of thinking, oh, I've got to be happy and calm and mindful this whole time. It's just not realistic. We're only human going through a really challenging time.
Yeah.
Just be kind to yourself. That's the one skill. If you can develop that, that will make a big difference.
I've got a Be Kind page on Facebook. I don't know if you see that, but I tell you what, right? Every day we put positive stuff on there, and I
Brilliant.
get a lot of feedback, and they go, "How do you do this? Why do you keep putting it on?" I said, "All we got to do is because we're together now and we're in this terrible situation, It's just to be kind. Don't be nasty to each
Yeah,
other. Be loving towards each other. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's all we need. That's all we need. It's just
absolutely. Because the situation's not going to change. We're stuck with what we are. So you have a choice. We can either be arguing all the time or try and be kind to each other and especially to ourselves.
us. There's a running joke in our house. So it's like, um, someone came in the other day and said, "Why don't you play a board game?" Um, if you ask my wife, she'll say, "No, I'm not playing a board game with him because he cheats." Because it's Monopoly. I like playing Monopoly. And what I do is I nick all the steal the old tails and everything. And then when she's not looking, it goes to the loo. I get more money out of the bank, and so I can buy more property. So and it's a running joke, but it's funny, but also it helps to kind of like kind of for the time, pass the time away. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Your kindness page will be making such a difference to people. And
Mm.
I tend to follow, I find laughter really, really helpful. So I will watch my favorite comedian or something, or there's a couple of Facebook pages where people just post silly things. Laughter does release endorphins. So,
Oh, of course it does.
it's literally a mood enhancer. So the more giggles, the better.
Yeah, we always put jokes up on my Facebook page. It's just
Good.
because I even do it if I'm feeling down,
Yeah.
because it helps me. It helps me to kind of like think, oh well, today, even though I feel like rubbish, I'm gonna
Mm.
make everybody else don't feel like me. So I'd rather have them be better than me. You know what I'm getting at? To make
I
people
totally
happy.
know what you're getting at.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's what I want people to do. Be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find that it alters your mood at all, sharing jokes and things?
Oh yeah, of course it does. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a win-win, isn't it? Deciding to make others happy, it is catching, laughter's
Mm.
catching. They do say that even if you're feeling rubbish, but you physically smile, that it actually releases endorphins and will change your mood. So I'm not going to ask you to try that or anything, but it's worth the go. I've tried
Are,
it and it does
are
work.
you
So
trying to are you trying to say to me that I do not smile?
of course. But yeah, absolutely. It really helps, doesn't it? Just putting a smile on your face, even if you're not feeling that smiley, the feelings tend to come after the action.
I don't. Oh, thank you. I'm talking to my wife there. She's saying I don't. Um, but the trouble, the trouble, the trouble is, also, I've done around about what I think it's around about 215 of these since lockdown, since lockdown last year,
Yeah.
right? And I thought to myself, because I was going through a bad time, mental health and other problems too. And I thought one day, right, I'm going to get up and do things and help people. So we just don't do this. We do a lot of charity stuff. We help people, also if people need counselling, we pass people on to counselling. We do quite a bit. And the trouble is, see, people, all what they need to do is be kind and help each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of things going, in America, in the United States, with the, Trump situation and everything, and
Yeah.
how are you getting on with that? How's that going?
What do you mean? What do I think about it?
Yeah,
What, the Trump thing?
yeah. Go on, tell me.
Well, I do worry about the state of democracy generally. And I think there's been a general rise, not just in the States, but across Europe with populist parties. And, you're talking about being kind. I mean, this is just my view, but in very, very general terms, socialism, just as a concept, I'm not suggesting a political party, but it's about sharing. It's about sharing what we've got. It's about being kind. It's about considering others. And I think it's part of the cycle we needed to go through, maybe politically. I think a lot of people take democracy for granted.
Of course you do.
They don't remember what the Second World War was like and things like that. So I think perhaps it's been a short, sharp shock, but I really hope that we'll perhaps show a bit more balance and compassion in our political leaders, our choices of political leaders going forward.
Hmm. So, any chance of you running for president then?
Uh, I like I do like to do stuff in my community. I like a bit of community activism. I like to make small differences, and that's enough for me.
So, what kind of differences do you like to make?
Um, well, I do a lot of feminist stuff, and I do small political things like people who have problems with, bin collection and dog poop in the park and things like that. They seem like small things, but they really get people down. They really upset people.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Um, I speak for charities, women's charities, about abuse. I had an abusive childhood, about surviving domestic abuse, which was something also, and about mental health, to just try and spread the message that, it's okay not to be okay, but at the same time, there is life after it. You can be a real survivor. You can go on to have a successful and
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
life.
yeah,
So I do a lot of that, just trying to get that message out, because
yeah,
I'm just a normal person, but thanks to learning neurolinguistic programming and the work I've done to manage my mind, I've been able to get to a place where I don't have anxiety or depression anymore, and I just want that for everyone, really. So it's kind of that stuff that I do.
yeah. I'll look at some of your stuff and what you've done, the work and everything. You have helped a lot of people, ain't you? And you must be, kind of like so chuffed, so really kind of like glad that you're helping all these people that you really need it.
Well, I guess you feel it too, Steve, because you're doing it as well. And yeah, it's like it's the best thing ever. It never gets old, does it? It's
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. And I feel like I'm doing my dream job. And if I wasn't a single mum with a mortgage to pay, I would absolutely do it for nothing. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
I love.
know, yeah, I know, yeah.
I feel really lucky to be doing
I
it.
know. We had a lady on here a while back, and she was going through domestic violence, and she said to me, Steve, I want you to interview me about it.
Wow,
Do you-
brilliant.
and that's the hardest thing I ever did. And I'll tell you what, after that, I actually go and get not counselling, but a bit of help
Yeah.
because it was the things that she was coming at, and and afterwards, a lot of people were contacting me. A lot of women were saying, my wife was looking at me thinking, why are these women contacting you for? I said, don't worry, Pat, don't worry, don't worry. And what it was because they were needing help. They want help
Yeah.
because they were afraid about their partners and stuff. They are afraid to leave their partner. They were being abused and
Mm.
abusive. The partner's being abusive, and we pass them on to other people gladly.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, that was a very brave woman, and thank goodness you gave her the space and the opportunity to do that, because obviously you've
Yeah,
helped so many other women through it. That's brilliant.
yeah. When someone kind of like pour their heart out on live like this, you know, then it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad place to be. Anyway, thank you, Beth, very much for your time.
Thank you. It's been lovely to chat to you.
Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, we can get you back and we do some more different topics.
I
Like
would love that.
I want to look at different topics like abuse, mental health. I want to talk about other subjects,
Sure.
and if that's okay with you,
I would love that. Thank you.
thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Take care.
God
Have a
bless.
great
Bye
one.
bye. And you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye. There you go. And that was Beth and Penfold, and yeah, she's a change coach. Please contact her, and she's nice to talk to, as you know, and she might be able to help you out. In the meantime, take care. Bye bye.